Moving on to South America, where the troubling trend of anti-Semitism continues in Argentina as another rabbi is brutally attacked. And joining us now to tell us more about the rise in anti-Semitism and to discuss the Jewish community's response is ILTV's Joy Gavillon.
Thank you, Lidar.
Welcome, Joy. So let's jump right in. First of all, can you tell us what's happened in Argentina this past week?
Yes, so last week a rabbi in Rosario, which is the third largest city located in the center of Argentina, was attacked both verbally and also physically. The rabbi Shlomo Tawil was attacked by three men, and according to local media, they shouted anti-Semitic comments at him, and then they took off his hat, stomped on it, and then continued to beat him, punching his face and stomach, and threw him to the ground. But luckily, there were people passing by who intervened to stop the attack.
So how do we know that this was, in fact, an anti-Semitic attack and not just, a mugging or something like that?
Yeah, well, the rabbi has been a Chabad emissary in Rosario for about 32 years, and the attackers not only shouted anti-Semitic slurs at him, but also they just attacked him and did not try to steal anything from him. So it's pretty obvious that this was just because of anti-Semitism.
So what more can you tell us about the rabbi? I mean, how is he doing after the attack?
So again, the local media reported that he had only minor injuries and he's recovering at home with his family. He's married with 8 children, but the president of the delegation of Israeli Associations of Rosario, Gabriel Dobkin, also told the media that the rabbi was distressed over what happened, understandably, and that while there were cases here and there of verbal anti-Semitism, this was the first time the Jews suffered such a major physical assault.
And so how is the Jewish community handling this now?
Well, first of all, Daya issued a statement together with the local community in Rosario condemning the incident and saying they stand in solidarity, but also they said that they will file a complaint with the police, and they demanded that the police and the authorities investigate and give total clarification for the incident. They said that they hope the violent people will be eradicated from Argentinian society, which chose a path of coexistence, peace, and justice.
Well, you mentioned before this is the first time that there was a physical assault on Jews, but from my understanding, it's not the first time that Jews were attacked in Argentina, right? Earlier this year, there were also a number of attacks too, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Well, in this case, they were referring to the first time in Rosario, but in Argentina, this past year, there have been a few major attacks that received national and even international attention. The first was earlier this year when Argentina's chief rabbi, Gabriel Davidovich, was attacked in his home. He was tied up and beaten and robbed, which is why it's not clear if this was anti-Semitic or not, but this received much attention in Argentina and around the world and was condemned as an anti-Semitic attack because the intruders said that they knew that he was the chief rabbi. Then there was another attack a few months after where another rabbi was attacked in Buenos Aires outside the synagogue. And then last month again in Buenos Aires, a man wearing a kippah was beaten and also verbally assaulted with anti-Semitic slurs. And what's really disturbing about this attack is that the victim said that there were people on the street who saw him getting attacked and just laughed or continued to walk by, and even though this wasn't a violent attack. Also earlier this year, there were gravestones in a Jewish cemetery that were vandalized, and also this week there was an Holocaust memorial in Resistencia, another city in Argentina, which was vandalized with a swastika.
Well, this actually does seem like anti-Semitism is on the rise in Argentina. I mean, what's your take on this?
Yes, well, the incidents that I mentioned are of course troubling, and they did catch the attention of national media in Argentina, so there is at least some awareness that this is a problem. And every year, Daya issues a report on anti-Semitism, and on their website, they show that in 2017, the last year which data is available, anti-Semitic incidents increased by 14%. So there is a rise in anti-Semitism for sure, but if you compare it to other countries, then it's not nearly as many major anti-Semitic incidents as in other places like Europe or the United States.
And Joy, you're originally from Argentina, and I know that you still follow what goes on there quite closely. But from your personal experience, how do you see the events unfolding in the country?
Look, the Jewish community in Argentina is it's a very big community. There are almost 200,000 Jews living in Argentina today, and I also think that it's a very strong community. We have to remember that they've experienced major tragedies over the years with 2 bombings, and they survived this. In fact, now the community is commemorating 25 years since the AMIA bombing.
25 years since the AMIA bombing. And for our viewers who may not be familiar, can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, 25 years ago, next month, there was a bombing of the building housing the Asociación Mutual Israelita Argentina, or the Argentine Israelite Mutual Association, AMIA for short, in Buenos Aires, where 85 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. This was the deadliest terrorist attack in Argentina's history, but still today, nobody has been found responsible for the attacks, though some say Iran was behind it. But the investigation and the case have received international attention, mainly because of alleged cover-ups by politicians and because of the murder of Alberto Nisman, who was the federal prosecutor on the case. He was supposed to testify against Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, Argentina's former president, for covering up Iran's role in the bombing, but he was murdered just hours before he was supposed to testify.
Wow, and so how is Argentina commemorating the bombings now?
So in a joint initiative with the World Jewish Congress, the embassies of Argentina in about 20 countries around the world will hold events commemorating the day. Among the countries that will participate are the United States, the UK, Spain, Russia, Italy, Chile, and also the United Nations. And while the events commemorate the victims, they are also, again, shedding light on the fact that nobody has been found responsible for the attacks, and maybe this can lead to a renewed investigation.
Well, Joy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Of course, Lidar.